I passed your test. Fate has a twisted sense of humor, it seems. I suppose you think I'm some sort of monster. More so since I survived your ritual. You keep striking at me, and I just refuse to die decently. You're a poor liar, you know. It's kind of you to say so all the same. We must settle things between us somehow or other, or neither of us will get any work done. So, what will it be? Is that punishment meant for me or for you? And just like that, we're allies. I can't imagine it's so simple. I don't know what concession you want from me, Warden. I expect my word will not satisfy you. Nothing I can say will prove that. Either I will be worthy of trust, or I won't. I think it's time we got to the point here. What do you want from me? I can't imagine that you spared my life in the Landsmeet by accident. You have some plan in mind. Fortunate for me, then, that I've always been a man to take chances. I'm hardly blind to the irony of this situation. All of this can rightly be called my fault. Whether or not you can do better remains to be seen. But if you can make this the end, Warden, I will follow you, I swear it. Andraste, help us then. We should speak no more of this at present. Time's wasting. Did you want something? Hate doesn't describe it. I've seen painted, masked lords beat an old farmer to death with riding crops. To this day, I don't know why. Is that hate? I saw good, sensible men fight armored chevaliers with nothing. No weapons, no armies, not even hope of success to see the occupation end. Is that hate? You won't believe me when I tell you this, but it doesn't matter. I never fought because I hated Loghain. This was for Merrick and for Eldon. I made a tactical error. In any case, there's no use discussing this. We have much work left to do. Very well, then. He was my friend. If he'd wanted to conquer the Fade, I would have led the charge. There are men who inspire such devotion that everyone around would lay down their lives for him. And there are men who would come and go from this world, and no one notes it. What makes them so? Your guess is as good as mine. Merrick was remarkable. That's all I can say of him. I was hunting, well, poaching, to be entirely honest, when a boy my own age came stumbling out of the woods. He was so dirty, you'd have thought he'd been dug up out of the ground. Every Ferelden was a poacher or a thief, as far as the Orlesians were concerned. He was bloody, exhausted, and obviously being hunted. I offered to take him to my father's camp. That's a story for another time, I'm afraid. I've gone on too long as it is. He nearly did. Merrick was never one to avoid his duty. And given his preference, he would have acknowledged his son no matter the circumstance. But he had more than his honor to think of. It would have ruined Rowan, after all. She'd be reduced to a concubine in the eyes of our neighbors, and put Kaelin's status as heir in question. So Merrick made the hard choice. Eamon offered to raise the boy, and that was that. I was turned by then, and a general. You can buy respect through birth or by bloodshed, I've found. But we've been idle long enough. We should get moving. Very well, then. I suppose that depends on how much of the kingdom was left by then. Once the border was secure, the army would have regrouped to push back the Darkspawn in the south. It was never any question in my mind that Honora would remain on the throne. After all, who else was there? Maric had no brothers or sisters. Most of the Therans were publicly hung by Megran when he took power. In any case, there's no use discussing this. We have much work left to do. Very well, then. Honora always did have a flair for the dramatic. She could have been a bard. Honora is a politician at heart. There's one thing she knows. It's how to move people. Is that a serious question? Is there someone else you know of who could stand up to the Landsmeet? But enough about Honora. We ought to get moving. Very well, then. So far as anyone could tell, she was the undisputed monarch of the whole world. She'd fall, skin her knees, and command them to stop stinging. It may have worked, too. Gwaran sits in between the Brazilian forest and the sea. It's far from the old Tevinter roads. The village by our keep was never even as big as Redcliffe. There are always a few children around. Charcoal burners, sons and daughters mostly, or the children of servants. They formed into noisy gangs in the courtyard for their games. But Honora never joined them. Kalen. He was a bit younger than she was, but Honora would lead him about the palace like a puppy on a leash, deep in adventures together. I believe the two of them once fought an army of ogres in the wine cellar. That was their explanation for all the broken bottles, anyway. If you're expecting some particular insight into my daughter's character, I'm afraid I'm probably not the best source. I'm hardly impartial. You think so? I'm not certain of that myself. But this is not really the time or place to discuss my daughter. We have work to do. Go ahead. Eamon is a shrewd man. He'll be advising the boy. He'll do all right, I suppose. I was trying to be polite. Your friend may get good advice from Eamon, but he's weak. All the bands know it. You can see them. A pack of wild dogs waiting for a bone. The first chance they get, they'll pry concessions out of him. They'll pick at the throne until it's only a gilded chair with no power or authority at all. Because Eamon, for all his merits, was a conservative man. He believes in tradition and inheritance, and would never see the daughter of a freeholder, however gifted, in power. And if there'd been any other heir, Eamon would never have suggested the boy. This discussion profits no one. I may be wrong. I will certainly hope so. By all means. Honora is a good queen. She has been for 5 years now. Whatever she might think, I never took power from Honora. She may have felt threatened, but I most pointedly did not remove her from the throne. In all seriousness, Honora is formidable. You should know that by now. They always have before. Few among the nobles have ever been under any illusions as to who really had power in Denerim. Honora is strong enough to endure. She may make a few mistakes along the way, but she'll survive them. But this isn't the time to discuss such things. By all means. Of course. Let's get this over with then. There is little time to waste. One life. After all this trouble, it seems like such a small thing to give up to see this land safe, doesn't it? And if there isn't? Do we refuse to accept this solution because it doesn't suit us? There's much more at stake than our own lives. And should it come to that, if anyone should make this sacrifice, it ought to be me. Maker knows I have enough to atone for. She's always been a very practical child. I'm sure she'll find a way to turn it to her political advantage. There is, however, no use worrying about what may be. We'll have to wait and see what comes. So it appears that Riordan was wrong. I find it difficult to believe that he deliberately misled us. Have you another explanation for what happened? I should have known. The witch disappeared not long after the battle and has not been seen since. I assume this was expected. Still, the Orlesian Grey Wardens have been persistent in their questions. I intend to keep any thoughts on the matter to myself. I understand you're leaving soon. I've been tapped to lead the Grey Warden recruitment efforts here in Ferelden. Honora's influence, no doubt. I would have preferred she not interfered. So it appears. Allow me to say before I go that you've earned my respect. Odd that I ended up here saying that, but there it is. Return to your celebration. Perhaps we shall meet again.